Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio by Ralph Michaels and Bryan Leonard. We're going to break down the national championship game between Alabama and Clemson. It's a redo from last year. These two teams battled it out in a thrilling 45-40 game. Guys, this line opened up here in Vegas at Alabama 7 with an opening total of 54.5. We've seen a little bit of movement to the Alabama side, or to the Clemson side, the line coming down to 6.5. And the totals where we saw the biggest move, it's down to 51. Early money on the game, we've got betting-wise number of tickets, 66% on Clemson and 71% of the money on Clemson. Guys, I'm going to start with you, Ralph. What do you think about this one?
Well, I'm with that public money and those public tickets. You know, I think Bama had the perfect situation last week. They were at the Georgia Dome, which they had played 5 games in the previous 5 years. They had a dome environment for a team playing a first big game with Washington, traveling to the South. You know, now we have a situation on grass, which evens up the playing field. Second chance for Deshaun Watson to look at Bama's defense, while Alabama has their freshman playing against a very good Clemson defense. And then you look at Alabama's offense. 326 yards last week. Now, granted, they didn't need many more points because they had the defensive touchdown, but 68 of that yards came on Bo Scarborough's run. So you have an offense that can't get margin unless their defense scores. And, you know, in this situation now, you also have Lane Kiffin out, Sarkisian in. Sarkisian's been there all year, so it's not a huge deal. But it is different watching their players and how this team's going to prep for this game. And then, again, you mentioned, you know, coaching. While Bama has the best coach in all of football, it's not too bad when Dabo Swinney is 6-0 ATS, 5-1 against the spread. And by the way, 6-0 ATS, 5-1 straight up. They only lost last year's championship game. All 5 other games were outright upset victories.
Bryan, we'll go to you. Ralph, looking at the Clemson side, how are you seeing this game?
I'm looking at it opposite. I thought Alabama played a lousy game last week, and we're still able to get that cover. Clemson and Ohio State, if you've got the newsletter that Ralph put together for all the bowl games, my top play coming out of the gate was Clemson plus the points. It was 3.5 at that point because of the advantage they had in the trenches against Ohio State. Ohio State hasn't been able to move the ball against good teams all year. I pointed out against Wisconsin when they played some of the other strong teams. So now that advantage they had last week, they're not going to have here. So actually, if you take a look at teams losing the sack battle this year, there's only 3 teams that never lost a sack battle. Your Pitt Panthers, because most efficient offense in college football this year, and these 2 teams, Clemson and Alabama. So the advantage they had in the trenches last week for Clemson, they won't have that against Alabama. And I watch every Clemson game. I watch every Ohio State game, family connections and everything. And that game for last week for Clemson was by far the best game they played all season. So from a handicapping standpoint, you're looking at line value. You've got an Alabama team that all along everybody thought they'd be anywhere from 8 to 11 against Clemson, and they'd be 13 against Ohio State, and then the 17, whatever, which went down, didn't work out against Washington. But now you've got that, you got Clemson up here, and you got Alabama down here, and yet the line's gone down. I like Alabama here. I think under a touchdown is the way to go.
All right, guys, good stuff. And for me, we got you two on opposite sides. So we're going to be doing a second video on this. We're going to be looking at the Alabama-Clemson game through the eyes of myself and Preston, the sports cheetah. So that video will be up next. And guys, if you want to save $10 this week, use coupon code Alabama10 and you'll be able to save $10 on any package this weekend at WagerTalk.com. Check it out. We're going to be back with more, part 2 of Alabama and Clemson.